patriotism, faith, national unity, education, fiscal responsibility, civility, the values that define America. Fascinating stories and talks from America-loving patriots dedicated to preserving freedom, opportunity, and justice. Welcome to the Friends and Fellow Citizens podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 80 of Friends and Fellow Citizens. I'm your host, Sherman Tylowski. Thank you all so much for joining me this week. We've got a really special guest again this week, and I hope that you are ready to sit back, relax, enjoy our interview. As a quick reminder, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our email list and consider becoming a Patreon member for more benefits and to become a bigger part of our community here on Friends and Fellow Citizens. Thank you all so much for your support, whether you're a new listener or you've been listening since day one. I truly appreciate all that you are giving me to help continue with the show, and I thank you so much. Today's guest is someone who is very different from a lot of the other guests that we've had. I mean, every single guest is unique in his or her own way. But one of the things that we want to highlight here on this program is really public service, but not just in one channel, not just through politics. Public service really comes in so many different forms. And today's guest really has channeled that amount of public service, but through maybe more of an entertainment sort of field. But one that I think is not only entertaining listeners from all around the world, but one that is literally helping people navigate through some of the biggest scams that anyone has ever seen. Perhaps more well known on YouTube as Pleasant Green, our special guest, Ben Taylor, will share with us a little bit more about what the YouTube journey is like as he navigates through multiple scams, but it aims to educate people about these scams, how to avoid them, and how to help foster more goodness around the world. I hope you'll enjoy this episode. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us this week. I'm very pleased to welcome our guest for this week, Mr. Ben Taylor. Ben, thank you so much for coming on to Friends and Fellow Citizens.
Sure. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, I want to first preface by saying that I actually happened to find your YouTube channel. This was probably a few years ago when you first released your first video. It was, I can't remember what year it was, but it was when you were sending I need to censor this part of the title, Blank Express. Let's keep it that for now. But when I first watched the video, I was like, well, this is a very unique video, and I kind of wish that, some more justice could be served in that way to some degree. But I really just want to say that it was an absolute pleasure to just keep up with the content that you're watching, and I like to really start with really where your background is coming from and how you really got involved in your YouTube channel experience. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you really got started creating Pleasant Green and the YouTube channel?
Yeah, well, you mentioned kind of the first video that I ever uploaded to my YouTube channel. So you've been on my channel for a while. Yeah, that was a video about me, sending something to a scammer because one day I was trying to sell my camera online, and a scammer contacted me and he expressed interest. I didn't know he was a scammer, but this person expressed interest in having me sell my camera. And he said he was going to send me some, a payment through PayPal, and then he would give me some shipping instructions, and he wanted me to ship the camera to Nigeria, but it was a fake payment. I came to realize that this was a PayPal email that made me think that I had been paid, but I really hadn't been paid. And so it's a common scam that scammers will use to get people to just ship their items to them and get nothing in return. And so that was kind of my first experience running into a scammer like that. And I just thought, well, I'm going to teach this guy a lesson. And so instead of sending my camera, I sent him something else. And I just thought, well, this is kind of funny. I'm having fun. Maybe some other people might enjoy it, And so I just made a video just to, have some fun and maybe show my friends. And it kind of blew up on YouTube. I had no idea that there was a, kind of an appetite for that kind of thing. And so yeah, my channel's kind of grown from there. And there's this whole scam baiting community on YouTube that I suppose I'm a part of. But it's been kind of fun to watch the channel grow and to create content that kind of exposes scams, but gives tips to people to what to watch out for when it comes to living online and doing business online. There's just a lot of scams out there, and so it's fun to just kind of bring awareness to these types of scams and help people stay clear of some of these pitfalls that they may encounter.
I think this episode is a little bit different because there really isn't, a specific policy or legislative angle. Obviously, if you were the Federal Trade Commission, or if you're from government, from Congress or whatnot, you might have one might have a different view on this. But I just love how organic this whole initiative has been for you. Just creating something out of your own, seeing a need and addressing that. Did you know what you were kind of getting into when you first got into YouTube? Was it kind of one of those things where you want to try out for a little bit and see where it goes, or were you want to really say, you know what, I really think this could be really something that could be a big part of what I do on YouTube?
I've always been, a fan of, making content, videos, and that kind of thing. That's the industry that I'm in. I work in marketing, and so I've always, loved to tinker around with video and tell stories, that kind of a thing. So when I started uploading videos, and I started realizing that, some people make a living this way. Some people are actually able to just, upload content and build audiences and have brands on YouTube and bring in some kind of side income. And so it really started to open my eyes. And I thought, wow, maybe if I start to do more of this, I can, have kind of a little side gig or actually, earn something for my hobby here. So it's just been really fun. I really didn't, like I said, I just uploaded a video because I just wanted to share something with my friends. But YouTube is just an amazing platform that will connect you with people all over the world. It's the second largest search engine in the world. And so it's really been cool to just, find an audience and find people who, want to kind of learn about scams, and they want to kind of see some justice brought to scammers. So no, I had no idea, but it's been really fun to just watch, how this audience of mine has kind of grown and how this community of scam baiting is just growing. It's kind of fun to be a part of.
And what's been the general reaction that you've gotten from maybe testimonials, or whether it's people who are watching your videos, or even maybe people in real life? How can you share a little bit about how people have benefited and what people are saying about this kind of content, which I think is just a great combination of like a PSA sort of gig, but also one that entertains people because they get to see justice being served in a very, very different manner outside the courthouse.
Yeah, because I started just because I was having fun and I wanted to entertain and I wanted to tell stories and I wanted to kind of embarrass these scammers and kind of show how silly they can be. And but it's grown to become much more than that. Sometimes I'll just get emails from people saying, wow, I was about to go cash this check, and then I Googled it, and your video popped up, and I just learned what I was into, and you helped me. You stopped me from losing out on a lot of money. I want to thank you. I get countless emails like that, and so it went from being something where I was just trying to entertain people to something where I'm like, wow, maybe I'm doing something worthwhile. I'm not only entertaining, but I'm educating, and I'm kind of helping people know what to watch out for. So yeah, it's been interesting to kind of see how it's gone from just something that's been fun to something that is helpful.
And what can you tell us about some of the kinds of people who reach out to you? Because I think there's unfortunately, when scammers target, they probably do a lot of research. They probably do a lot of research about who's most vulnerable, who's most susceptible. What do you know about some of the kinds of things that scammers look for in people who are most vulnerable to scams? Or is there maybe not as much of a contrast between different potential victims of scammers?
Well, I mean, they'll go after anybody that they can, but they know they'll have better luck with the vulnerable, so the elderly, um, you know, the uneducated, like, you know, early college students will fall for this a lot, where they, try to sell a textbook online and they end up, getting had for something. So it really is, there's anybody can fall for a scam. Anybody, you just kind of have to be in the distracted or in the right or in the wrong frame of mind. Anybody can get scammed. Um, you know, but it does seem to happen a lot with the elderly. With tech support scams, if you get a call from somebody that says, "Hey, this is the IRS" or "This is from Amazon," you believe it. But if you're just like I said, like a college student or just someone young who just wants to sell a textbook or a phone or a computer, and the person on the other end of the text says, "Hey, I'll Venmo you half, or Venmo me half down, and then we'll meet." Some people are just super trusting, so they really will go after anybody and anybody. But they'll move on pretty quick if they feel like they're not gonna, if they're dealing with someone pretty educated, they'll just move on. I mean, it's just like fishing. They cast their lines. If they don't get a bite, they'll reel in, they'll cast again. But they'll go after anybody. And like I said, I've seen educated people. I've seen wealthy. I've seen poor. I've just seen all kinds of people fall for these scams. So it's really, unfortunate.
It sounds like, as you were kind of mentioning some of the people who fall for these scams, it seems like it does kind of cut through even the generational gap. You mentioned college students and the elderly. We always think that college students younger people are going to be the ones who are most accustomed to technology, yet they still fall for these. And I was wondering if there's an element perhaps in the educational side, or maybe I should say the lack of education or literacy on looking out for these scams. Is that do you think that that's part of the equation as well? That it's just we live in such a sophisticated world of digital commerce and just the environment that we don't that it can just that something like this, like scamming and all that, can permeate so frequently across populations.
Scammers they're just always coming up with new ways, new ways to trick you. 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, we would joke about this Nigerian prince scam. You get the email that says, "I'm a Nigerian prince. I want to share my inheritance with you." And people would actually fall for it. That doesn't happen very much nowadays because people have, it's been around and people joke about it now, and it's pretty commonly known. But there are so many clever ways that scammers are coming up with every day. And even me, I'm seeing things where I'm just like, wow, that's clever. And so it's just, we just don't think about it. We just kind of expect things. If you get an email and if it looks like it's from Amazon and it says click this link to claim your order, if you're not on your toes, if you're trusting, if you're not asking questions, and if you are distracted, you can just so easily just click on the wrong link, and you could be talking to someone who really isn't who you think it is. So they're just getting so creative, and I just think anybody, as I said, can fall for these scams. You just kind of have to be in the wrong frame of mind. You have to be distracted. So it's just good that we're talking about these types of things so people can be aware and just on their toes, because they're always coming up with new things.
One big thing I wanted to ask you about, which is about how, at least from my experience, I did some work in DC last year and all that, but we've seen the rise, obviously, of a lot of scams regarding COVID, all the relief scams and all that. I know it's a very specific kind of scam, but what sort of things have you seen on the COVID side of things in terms of how these people lure people to get so-called payments or free money? Because that kind of seems like that's probably one of the biggest draws that keeps the scam business alive, unfortunately.
Yeah, I've seen a number of them. Like early on in the pandemic, when there was kind of a shortage of masks, KN95 masks, you would just see lots of emails and ads going around saying, "Oh, we have them in stock and they're cheap. Click here to order some," and you'd order some and you'd never see them again. There were scams where you'd get emails or pop-ups saying, "Here's a magic potion that will protect you from, from COVID." There was just kind of ridiculous things that people were saying, but but some of the more devastating things that we've seen is that we know that the federal government has been issuing unemployment benefits to people due to the pandemic, and scammers have been finding ways to intercept those payments. They've been able to find ways to file unemployment claims on behalf of individuals. So many people. There's data breaches that happen all the time. They're able to just take people's identifications and literally file these claims and start to receive these unemployment checks on behalf of the people. And you just read about all these people in California and Ohio, two states that have been hit especially hard, just coming out and saying, or they'll get these letters from the IRS that says you've claimed $20,000 in unemployment benefits this year, and they'll be like, "No, I haven't. What do you mean?" And then they'll just see these records of how money has been sent to these offshore bank accounts. And so it's just really crazy how scammers have just been able to, when they see free money going out, they'll figure out ways to intercept that and claim it for themselves. And so it's just been really, really kind of frightening.
What sort of things do you look for when you create a new video and you've gotten someone from Nigeria or from somewhere else in the world, from India or wherever, says, "Hey, we've got this, you won, $1,000 or something." How do you determine what sort of scams you want to, I guess, quote unquote, work with, if you know what I mean? Like, in terms of the content or just how you're able to maybe take a particular scenario or a particular situation, turn into like a story or a way where you can deliver a lesson or like a PSA to people.
Yeah, I see so many scams just every day, and I'm a content creator, so I'm looking to create videos that people will watch and watch till the end and want to share and laugh at and participate with. And so I'm always just kind of looking for a way that I can tell a story in a creative way. So I'm looking for a story, I'm looking for an arc. And so a lot of times I'll engage with the scammers. I'll try to go on this journey. I'll try to go as far as they'll take me. I'll try to go up to the very moment where they ask me to, send my payment information. So I'm just trying to just take the audience with me on a journey, just to show them how the scam works, show them how the story works, and I'll try to kind of bring it to a conclusion where the audience learns something, or I'm able to, give a little bit of payback to the scammer themselves. I'm always just trying to look for like you said, a way to just package that into a story or a narrative or something that just has an intro and a conclusion. Because I'm all about just creating content that people will want to watch and stick around for. So I'm looking at that. I have all these scams, and some scams I'll look at and I'll be like, I can't find a way to tell this. I could turn on a camera and just kind of go down the list and share some bullet points, but I'm a storyteller, and so I always try to figure out a creative way to tell it. And so if I can figure out a way to talk about this scam in a way that's entertaining and it holds the audience's attention, then that's kind of when I say to myself, okay, I've got a video here, I've got something that I can make. And so I'll just go as far as I can until I have something that I think is a good 10-minute, 15-minute lesson that I can share.
Get used to the process. Seems like maybe the end product, we might not know what the end product is, but we try to hone in on the process and try to facilitate that, make our lives easier as well, to some degree as well, without it being too taxing on our busy lives. What have been a couple of just the craziest things that you've seen? Hopefully nothing that you've fallen for, although I figure that there's some pretty darn clever people out there who can probably take an image or take some offer, and we might just be in a different world or different state, but we just kind of feel like, you know what, that's not, free lifetime pizza, that sounds like a really good idea, so but what can you share about just a couple of some crazy things that you've encountered so far?
Every day there's something new that surprises me. I, so a lot of the scams that are happening these days are romance scams, and so scammers in Nigeria or Ghana will they will pretend to be someone that they'll create fake profiles on dating sites, and they'll reach out and they'll just start up relationships with people, with men and women, and they'll groom these victims for just months on end, and then they'll get to the point where they'll ask for money, and these victims will do it because they feel like they're in love, they're in a relationship. And so I've just seen some of these relationships go on for years, literally. And even though they'll they'll have suspicions, they'll be like, well, this person, I've yet to meet them, I've yet to even have a FaceTime call with them, but we have such intimate conversations over text, and I feel like I love them, so I'm just going to continue to give them money. And so I just run into these people who have these relationships where they know that they're living a lie, but they feel like they're in love, even though they're being scammed. They feel like that they're in love, and they're not willing to cut that off because that means that they're going to lose a part of their heart that that someone else has. And so I've just seen such bizarre things like that. I've seen some of the most ridiculous things people have fallen for. Just people acting like government agents, sweepstakes people. There's just so many ridiculous scams, and anybody can fall for it. And so I've just seen grown men, educated people of all walks of life who have kind of fallen for these scams. And so it just nothing surprises me anymore.
My grandfather used to get all this scam mail from supposedly the IRS. I mean, that's a classic one, IRS. And the funniest one is when they say, "You know what? You used to we think that you owe $20,000 because you didn't pay your taxes," and then they'll come out saying, "But because we're the IRS, we're so nice to people. We'll give you a 90% discount. So all you got to do is just pay $2,000 through the mail." I'm thinking, well, I don't remember the IRS being that generous about giving 90% discount. Yeah, I don't even know if you can find that anywhere unless a store's closing down or something.
Yeah. Well, the craziest thing is that the scammers used to say you got to pay through Western Union. Go to the Western Union and send a wire. Well, Western Union has they've been sued. They've really cracked down. They say we're not doing this anymore. We're not allowing people to send money unless they know that person. And so scammers now have got to find out different ways to get the money. And so what they're doing now is they are, one thing that they're doing is they're having people buy gift cards. They say, hey, you got to go to Home Depot and you got to buy $1,000 worth of gift cards. Buy 5 gift cards for $200. And the people are like, oh, okay. And what they're doing is they're able to sell these gift cards for Bitcoin and then cash the Bitcoin out for cash in their countries. And so it's a clever way that they're able to launder money without going through Western Union, without having it tracked. The other thing they're doing is they're recruiting moles here in the United States. Or mules is the word for it. They recruit people here in the United States, whether they be romance victims or whether they just be people who think that they're working as like a payroll agent. These are like money mules here in the United States who are collecting the money. So they'll say, hey, you owe this money in taxes, mail it to this person over in Ohio. He'll take care of it. But that person is a money mule who then will go stick that money into a Bitcoin machine. So there's so many creative ways to get people to send money overseas. And the craziest thing is that these victims are doing it. They're believing that they're in danger. They're believing that they're going to be going to jail if they don't pay up to the IRS. And they're going to Home Depot to do it, to buy these gift cards and to, read off the numbers to these scammers. So yes, people are falling for it. It's ridiculous. And it's happening.
Oh gosh, the iTunes gift cards gets me every time because clearly I don't even know. I think I struggle a lot with figuring out how people can process this idea of thinking that the IRS is just wants to listen to the next Cardi B song or Ariana Grande's hit.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's a need in itself for a whole different conversation, but still, it's pretty remarkable just how vulnerable people can be. I want to know a little bit more about really some of the people behind the scams. money is an easy explanation for, I guess, for a lot of things, but it's just not detailed enough. And, everyone wants money, everyone wants power, but what can you tell us in general about some of the kinds of motives that these scammers have besides just the kind of the standard money explanation? What kind of circumstances are these people in, and have they? Do you think that they've been given options to be able to work hard, get a salary and all that, but they've chosen to go down a much darker and much more unethical path?
Yeah, some folks in Nigeria and Ghana, they'll kind of look at scamming and they'll just say, this is our duty. This is how we get back at the white man for what they took from us, from our grandfathers, and they'll just kind of see that this is our way of getting back. There's other people will just say, well, they've got money and we don't, so what's it matter if they lose a couple $100s or a couple $1,000s? They'll be fine. Their government will take care of them, but we have nothing. Our government's not going to take care of us. This is our only option, and they'll convince themselves that it's better for Americans to go without than for them to go without, and so that'll be their reasoning. But then you look at folks in like India, and they'll just kind of look at this and say, this is just a better way to make money. I can go work in a call center doing legitimate calls for Microsoft or somebody, and I can make X amount of rupees, but they will pay significantly more for these scammers. They'll make a lot more money if they can, if they can, jump on a call for an hour and walk away with $5,000. They'll get a good chunk of that. That's far more than they would make at a legitimate call center. So they just look at these options, and there's just so many of these scam call centers running out of apartments or basements or buildings, and they'll just kind of say, well, I could go do legitimate work, but man, how do you say no to these scam centers? So they'll just say, well, I got to eat, and this is an opportunity I just can't pass up. So there's all different kinds of mindsets, and there are people that do have consciences, and they look at the work that they're doing, and it eats them up inside to know what they're doing. But at the end of the day, they'll say, they'll justify it by saying, well, this is the world I live in, and this is how I'm going to put food on my table.
I'm not a law enforcement person. I don't work in that field, but do you also attribute the spread or the prevalence of scamming in part because it's so difficult for law enforcement to keep up? In terms of prosecutions or indictments or things like that, or is this is it always going to be just that seems like that never ending cat and mouse sort of thing that eventually that people will just have to get accustomed to?
It's interesting. There's a lot of call centers in India that I know of that are paying the cops to look the other way. They'll literally just, their law enforcement is so much different than ours that if they can just get handed a couple hundred rupees just to say, hey, you didn't see anything, it's better for them to just to do that. And so that's happening a lot. Some countries like in Nigeria, they'll they might just look the other way because they'll be like, well, there's money coming into our country. This is helping out our economy. Do we really want to stop this? So there's just corruption everywhere. But you are seeing lots of raids in the news. If you kind of look around on the news, you will see that a lot of governments do want to put an end to this. Because at the end of the day, it really does hurt. Yes, it hurts Americans and it hurts Canadians, the people who are the victims of these scams. But who it really hurts are the people in these countries who want to make legitimate money. They want to just live good lives. And I can't tell you how many people in Nigeria are on Upwork or Fiverr.com trying to get these little jobs to do, coding or graphic design or voiceover work. But people aren't trusting them because they'll be like, oh, you're from Nigeria. I've heard about you guys. And so it's just really sad that that this scamming is putting a damper, is putting a black eye on the reputation of these countries who have such, good, talented people in them who could do great work for you at a good price. But unfortunately, the scamming that's happening is really making it hard for those people to earn the trust of potential clients.
Ben, you have a just a remarkable story, and this is when I say remarkable story, I mean a remarkable kind of like case study or example of really how far you've been able to go in terms of helping someone, someone so many miles away. And I'd love to give you an opportunity to share a little bit about the story with a man named Joel. And this was something that I watched on YouTube, and it's just a fascinating story. So, what can you tell us about how you found this man, and really just some of the early stages of how you got to know him, and how this relationship with this man you didn't even know, you never even met, really turned into something that you felt was perhaps very different from the other stories, from the other cases that you've seen.
Yeah, early on my YouTube channel, I had a person who contacted me from Liberia, West Africa, saying that he needed my help. He wanted to do some business with me. I guess the plan was for me to mail used electronics to Liberia, like laptops and iPads, iPhones, that he could resell, and then we'd split the profits. It was kind of a ridiculous idea, but I just thought, well, this is interesting. Let's see where it goes. And so I was kind of playing with him, leading him on for a little bit. And finally, I just decided, hey, I really wanted to conduct a little bit of a social experiment, just see if he was scamming me or if he was really willing to work, because I know it's hard to find work out there. I know that they're doing these things because they're desperate. And I just thought, hey, if you're willing to work for me, maybe I'll pay you. And he said, sure. What do you want me to do? And I said, well, let's try having you take pictures. I asked him to take pictures of where he lived, just kind of some cultural scenery things. And they weren't very good. They were on his little, flip phone that he was using, and they were just terrible. The quality was awful. And I thought, well, maybe if he had a better camera, it'd be better. So I actually mailed him a camera, not a good camera, a little cheap camera. It was a little point and shoot, but it was better than what he had. And it was just kind of interesting that after several weeks, he began to improve. He began to get better. The quality of his pictures were improving, and I was documenting this story on YouTube, and people were kind of falling in love with this story. It was funny to kind of watch this guy go from kind of a scammer to a photographer. They were enjoying this journey, and soon enough, I started to just say, well, what if we were to sell these pictures? What if we could put together a little booklet and try to make some money? I didn't think that we'd make very much money. I thought we'd sell maybe a couple dozen, but we ended up selling thousands of copies, and we raised a good amount of money. And initially we had $1,000, and I said, okay, Joel, I'm going to send you your half, $500, and I'm going to give you my half too, which was another $500. And I said, but I want you to keep that money, or not keep that money. I want you to give it to charity. And I didn't know if he would do it. I just wanted to see what he'd do. And what happened was he used that $500 to benefit the people in his community. He bought backpacks and school supplies, and he delivered them to, local school children who were in need, who couldn't afford such things. And people just really fell in love with that story. And they just thought, wow, this is amazing to see, what a person will do when he's given a chance. And so it was a really remarkable story that showed me that, not everybody is a bad guy. Not everybody scams or begs because, they want to. It's everybody, deserves a chance. And so it was kind of a remarkable story just to kind of show what people are capable of when they're given opportunities, when they're given resources. And so I've always just tried to keep that in mind as I work with people. I try to give people the opportunity to improve their lives, see that there's a better way to live other than to scam and to beg, that you can improve your skills, you can improve yourself, and you can contribute to society in meaningful ways. And so that's just always been a lesson that has stuck with me, and something that I remember when I interact with these people.
From what I understand, you also made a trip to Liberia to see your friend Joel. I've always been curious. I've never been to that part of the world, so maybe you've got a travel brochure, an extra one. Love to check that out next time I go. Yeah. But what was that like? Just not only making that trip to what I'm guessing maybe just a very, very different part of the world that you've never been to, but also really that opportunity for you to interact with someone through just a virtual means, and finally getting to meet that person. Just walk us through what that feeling was like, just going from the travel all the way to the time when you saw him in person.
Yeah, it was an incredible journey. I just felt like I needed to make that trip because the story touched so many people, and and so many people were saying, "We've got to meet this guy. Who is this guy? We've got to get to know him. We've got to hear from him." And and so people were eventually saying, "Hey, we'll donate. We'll fund the trip if you go." And so I just started to realize that this was going to happen. And so yeah, I made the trip. It was an amazing trip, a real eye-opening experience. I had never been to Africa before, but just walking, along those streets and just seeing the poverty and the living situations that people endure there, I just thought to myself, well, would I be doing anything different if I were in their shoes? So it was just really eye-opening. It was incredible to meet Joel and to just get to know his character and his meet his family. It was just something special, and so just kind of living through that is just always stuck with me. Whenever I meet these people who feel like they are living in these impoverished circumstances and they don't have another choice, like it. This has given me some empathy, I think, to just kind of put myself in their shoes and learn what life can be like for them. And so it's been something that's really special and something I'll always keep with me. But I plan to go back. I was hoping to go back last year, and then the pandemic hit. But there's a lot of cool things happening over there that we're trying to do. We're trying to keep some businesses running over there and help the people as we can, and as we continue to make money. And there's certain things we want to fund over there. So yeah, it's certainly got a piece of my heart, or that place is. There's a piece of there in my heart. So.
And I like to know a bit more about the title of this book, and I'll link that down in the show notes below. But it's called "By the Grace of God." So tell us about how you came, what the relevances of that title is to the story, and kind of what that invokes in terms of the background of the story and the message that you and Joel together would like to pass along to people who check out the book, read more about the story.
Yeah, that was just kind of a phrase that Joel would use, and it's really a phrase that a lot of people use over in West Africa. By the grace of God, they're very faithful, religious people, and so yeah, every time Joel would try to do something, I would say, "Okay, Joel, I need you to get me those pictures tomorrow," and he would say, "Okay, I'll do it by the grace of God." But when he would say it, he would say "by the grace of God," because it was kind of a shorthand way of texting. He had one of those older phones where you had to like hit the button 4 times to get the letter that you wanted, and so he would just use shortcut and say "by D," so it was "by D grace," and that's kind of how they how they talk over there. Their English, it's "by D grace of God," and that's kind of their dialect. But so yeah, it just became kind of a catchphrase with my viewers, and I just thought, well, there's no better name for the book than "By the Grace of God," and so it's. That's it's but it's kind of like the moral to the story that Joel had his faith that things were going to work out, and that there was maybe someone orchestrating all of this and and everything. So yeah, it's just kind of a fun little motto that we go by as we do our charitable work and all that. So it's just been kind of a fun little tagline to run with.
What do you anticipate going forward in terms of taking the story and spreading it to more people, but also just some of the charity opportunities that hopefully that you and Joel hope to work on together and promote in Liberia and maybe elsewhere around the world?
Yeah, well, we want to make the world a better place, and so the message that I try to share on my channel is that you can have the life that you want. You can change your circumstances. You don't have to just resort to scamming. You can use your talents, and you can figure out ways to improve your life and improve your family's life and improve your country. You can start small, but you can make a difference, and that's kind of the message that I want to share on my YouTube channel. The scammers, there's a better way to live, and so we know that because of Joel's story. Joel taught us that, and so we continue to help. Joe continues to look for ways to make a difference in his community. He, photography is not like a skill set that's in high demand over there, but there are certain things like food and water and shelter and things that he's doing. We've funded a little company that is doing well, that produces sanitary pads for young girls. That's a big need over there in Liberia. A lot of girls will just miss their 25% of their school year because of their monthly period, and so it's really important that because they don't have access to those things like sanitary pads. So we're providing affordable ways for girls to take care of that and stay in school, and we hope that that'll provide make a big difference going forward. We're doing things like water filtration units in schools. We just feel it's so important that kids are in school, that kids are getting educated so that they can grow up, that they can play a big role in their in their country. Because a lot of people look at Americans and they'll say, "Oh, you guys have got it all figured out in America. I want to come to America," and we just want to say, "No, your job is to make your country a better place, and we can do this. And if we can, keep kids in school, if we can get women involved, if we can, teach people to use their heads and to use their hands, there is a better way to make this country a good place to live and for our kids to grow up in." And so we're just trying our best. We're just a small little operation, but we're trying to use the money that we raise and the influence that we have to just tell people that you can make the world a better place if you try.
What would be your message to those who want to pursue service in their lives? And what kind of vision do you see in the future of serving others in Liberia, the United States, and really elsewhere across our entire world?
Well, I would just hope to just kind of illustrate that service can be fun. Service can be very, very meaningful. What's been so encouraging to me is that it seems like we've made charity fun again. It's been so fun to kind of see these little 14-year-old, 16-year-old kids who watch my videos who would have never ever thought about donating to a charity or doing something, but they're going to their moms and saying, "Mom, can I have $10 so I can go buy this book and donate to kids in Liberia?" It's just cool to kind of just see people rallying behind a story. And so I just look for the story in service opportunities and try to find the bigger picture and find the cause and join that cause. There's real power in storytelling, and so I think that when you find a cause that you can support and be part of, when you feel like you're a part of something bigger than you, it's good for the soul. And so look for those opportunities to be part of something bigger than you, and that's just what I would say about service is it provides meaning, and I think that's something that we all look for in life.
Well, one of the big pillars of this show is really taking a step back and looking at a document that is often overlooked, Washington's Farewell Address, 1796, and he outlines really a number of themes, and those include patriotism, faith, national unity, education, fiscal responsibility, and civility. And then out of all these, and you can pick one or multiple ones, which ones do you think are perhaps most relevant to our conversation today, and really just based on the work that you've been doing and the messages you'd like to pass along to the audience and to others who want to get involved in service as well?
Wow, yeah, those are all fantastic values. It's hard to pick one. I kind of see all of them, falling into the work that that we're trying to do. I kind of look at education and just saying, let's use our smarts for good. There's so many scammers out there that are so smart. Like people in Nigeria and India, they're brilliant. They know how to code. They know how to they know how to fool people into sending them money. They know how to impersonate agents. They know how to impersonate love partners. If you can figure out how to do that, surely you can figure out how to, use your skills for good in the world. Look at civility, faith and national unity, taking pride in your country. Stop giving your your country a bad name. All these things I think just fit into what we're trying to do. You know, and again, that's just the message that I have on my channel is that there's a better way to live life. Learn from learn from George Washington. Make your country a place that you're proud of. That make yourself someone that your kids would be proud of. There's so many opportunities in our world today to with globalization, just to connect with the global market and to offer your skills and to just to make money. There's so many opportunities to just that there weren't 10 or 20 years ago. It's an incredible time to be alive with technology. And I just want people to just see that and just to catch that vision that there's so many opportunities to make money, and you don't have to scam. You can work with your hands. You can use the internet for good. And so it's just it's an exciting time to be alive, and I just hope that people take advantage of it.
That's a great message. Super, super awesome. It gives people a lot of contemplation on, again, seeing the forest from the trees, but seeing a forest of opportunities. I think that's what hopefully that'll be something that people get out of your content and out of people who are doing these things. And Ben, before we wrap it up for today, I'd like to just give you an opportunity to share real quick what can people do to purchase your book and follow your channel and basically just see what you're up to, which I'm sure there's a number of people every single day when they get that notification on YouTube, they're looking forward to say, okay, what kind of video am I going to be watching? Who's out there to try and scam, but is going to be served a much different response than what they probably imagined from some other people. But just what can people do to follow your channel and see what's going on?
Yep. Well, you can find me over at YouTube. I try to upload a couple times a month, and my YouTube channel is Pleasant Green. So youtube.com/Pleasant Green. And that's just kind of a family name that is kind of a fun brand that I've kind of adopted for myself. But I'm also on Twitter and Instagram at that name too. But yeah, you can find us there, and we'll try to keep the story going. So come along and join the fun. We also have a website called bydgraceofgod.com, and just as it sounds, bydgraceofgod.com. If you want to buy our book, if you want to kind of see some of the work that we're doing, that's the place you can go as well.
Sounds great. I'll be sure to put that in as well. And Ben, thank you so much for coming on to Friends and Fellow Citizens. I know you're incredibly busy. You've got a lot of content going, and I gotta owe it to people like yourself, because it's not easy to be able to do all that editing and to be able to share these kinds of messages to people in ways that people can soak in and also get some entertainment out as well. I think it's just a great combination, and no doubt that it's been something that you've probably found a calling for, and I just want to commend you so much for keeping me entertained as well, because I got to keep myself entertained when I'm not doing podcasting, obviously. So, but well,
thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me. I'm glad that you're glad to have you as a subscriber.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that will wrap up our episode for today. Thank you so much for listening to this episode with Ben Taylor, aka Pleasant Green. Be sure to check out his YouTube channel down below, as well as his book, By the Grace of God. Again, make sure you subscribe to our email list so that you don't miss a single episode. Have a great rest of your week, and remember, a day in America always gets better when we are with our friends and fellow citizens.